Purdue coach Matt Painter is only 39 years old, and he's already made quite a name for himself, set the bar very high, and unfortunately with that comes very high expectations. After being an assistant coach for 10 years at 4 different schools, including the last 5 years as an assistant at Southern Illinois, from 1998 through 2003, he became head coach at Southern Illinois in 2003. And in that 03-04 season, he led the Salukis, which, by the way, if you don't know, is a dog, kind of a dog, to a 25-5 record and a spot in the NCAA tournament. And he was promptly rewarded for the success of that season by being named the Missouri Valley Coach of the Year. A Purdue grad and a former Boilermaker player himself, Painter was hired by his alma mater following that season as an assistant coach and associate head coach at Purdue. It appears that the powers that be at Purdue knew a good thing when they saw it. He was hired to be the official replacement for the legendary Gene Cady, who, after 25 seasons and 6 National Coach of the Year awards, was retiring the following year. The team won only 9 games in his first season back at Purdue, but then things began to turn. The next season as head coach, that number was 22 wins. The next season it was 25. And last year, Purdue won 27 games. They also won the Big Ten tournament title here in Indianapolis at Conseco Fieldhouse, you'll recall. And it also made the Sweet 16 in last year's NCAA tournament. Now, the single-season record for wins at Purdue is 29. And with all 5 starters and the number 6 man returning this year, the Boilers are generating a lot of interest and a lot of high expectations. I'm guessing that one of those expectations will be to break that 29-win record, which was set in the 1993-94 season when Glenn Robinson was the center for the team. Well, along the way, Coach Painter was named Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2008, and he was a finalist in 2 National Coach of the Year awards that year. This summer, he was an assistant coach for the United States basketball team that captured the gold medal at the World Championships in Auckland, New Zealand. Team USA hadn't won a gold since 1991. Coach Painter is a Muncie native, and he and his wife, Jerry, have 3 kids, Maggie, Graydon, and Emma. Now, yesterday, I got on the internet, and I was trying to look up painters that live in Muncie, and I got 7 telephone numbers, because I was trying to track down some personal anecdotes from his childhood that might be kind of humorous today. Well, unfortunately, I left 3 messages and 4 of the numbers were disconnected, so I was unsuccessful. And I thought this morning what a better idea would have been to try to track down some of his Purdue classmates and get some of their stories from when Coach Painter was a student at Purdue. I bet you we could have come up with some pretty funny stuff. But I was unsuccessful with that. So I'll leave you with this. Much was made last year when Michigan State went to the Final Four and got to go home and play the Final Four just up the road from Lansing in Detroit. Of course, we know they lost in the final game to North Carolina, but how sweet it would be to bring the Boilermakers home from just up the road in West Lafayette down to Indianapolis for the Final Four in Lucas Oil Stadium this April. And how even sweeter it would be if they could win the tournament. Now, I'm not setting up any high expectations or anything. I'm just saying, Coach. I'm just saying, no pressure. Anyway, with that, please help me welcome Purdue's basketball coach, Mr. Matt Painter.
Thank you very much. Obviously, there's no pressure after that speech, but thank you for the kind words. And he mentioned earlier about my wife and 3 kids, and I married a Saluki. So she graduated from Southern Illinois. One of my assistants is a Saluki, and it's actually an Egyptian hunting dog known for speed and endurance. So it's not just a dog. You know, so you got to defend those that are close to you. And so people always would say that you would go in their homes, you'd go to recruit, and they kind of look at you. We just have one question. You'd think, you know, their son's getting offered a $150,000 scholarship, and there's a lot of important things about people and education for somebody to make a decision about where their son's going to go to school. And they would sit there the whole time And normally it was Coach Weber was our head coach, and he's a fast talker. And he'd zip through it and go through it, and the kid would sit over there, and he'd be yawning, and the parents would be listening, and they'd say, "What in the hell is a Saluki?" And so then Coach Weber it's a dog. It's kind of like a greyhound. So I thought we had to have more of a dictionary type answer to that. So I looked it up, and it was an Egyptian hunting dog known for speed and endurance. And if you say it real quick and real fast, they think actually, oh, okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. These guys know what they're doing. In reality, well, we didn't know what we were doing. But it's good to see some former players come back, and it's a lot of, you hear guys, I spoke at something last week, and I think the youngest guy there graduated from Purdue in 1956. And so the stories that were buzzing through there, you know, in that room. So to have some guys back from the 60s, from the 70s, and obviously Matt Waddell is back from the 90s, and it's good to see Matt. You know, Matt was my roommate, and it's a tough thing, you know, when you got a guy that's your roommate that's a better player than you, and that's a tough pill to swallow right there. He's a better player. He's a better looking guy than you. That's a tough pill. But now when you get 39 and he's 38 and I got more hair than him, I think I won. You know, I think I won that battle, and I'm just going to take that as a win. And so like when they introduce you as a player, and deep down you always know about yourself. And as time goes on, it just gets better and better. Even though you weren't probably a very good college player, I mean, I have people come up to me all the time and say, "Man, I loved watching you play." And I walk away and I say, "Hey, you know, thank you very much. I appreciate that." And I say, "They don't know a damn thing about basketball." And because when you average 4 points for your career, and you know, you get a couple buckets early in the game, you know, you don't have to be a math major to figure out you're probably done for the day. You know, that's probably about it. That's the reason they call it an average. And but I think that's something that. They always say that, you know, bad players make good coaches. So hopefully, then, if that's the case, then I'm going to have a great career because I was not that good of a player. They were talking earlier. He was mentioning, and he went a little bit of time in terms of trying to dig up some dirt. I think that's the one thing when you come back to your alma mater where you played. You know, and you go across campus, or people come back, and all of a sudden, you know, you always say about when you go to college and you leave, and you say, "Oh, those walls could talk now." And you start to come to business. But now you never come back to college, obviously, you know, what I've been able to do. And he's searching, you know, through the phone book to try to find the Painters in Muncie, and 3 phone numbers are disconnected. That kind of just lets you know about our family tree right there. Just a little bit. But he didn't get the guys, you know, in college to tell the stories, because I always have people say, "Man, I got stories on you." I said, "Yeah, I understand." And so I think the guys you play with in college, when they come back, you're especially nice to those guys, because they probably could get you impeached and get you out of your position. But we do have I think a special situation at Purdue. I think it's been special for a long time. It started a long time ago with the tradition of Purdue. They don't realize, I think across the country, that Purdue is the team that is #1 in Big Ten championships all time. I think Coach Katie, obviously, in his 25 years and winning the Big Ten 6 times, being National Coach of the Year 7 times, has set the bar high, and that's what he has always done. To start a season, a lot of people want to talk about where the Final Four might be played. They want to talk about a lot of different things, your win totals, and you just don't pop right back into the Sweet 16 at 27-10 and start your season. There has to be some order to what you do. And the goals for us, even though the most important thing is the NCAA tournament, I understand that, is to win the Big Ten. And that is something that we have not been able to accomplish. We've gotten second the last 2 years. And so if you do that, you put yourself in a better position.